salesperson does right and wrong, but also watch for what the shopper does wrong, because the shopper makes a couple of errors in these. Now we've got a volunteer who's going to help us, so I'm going to ask Alicia to come on over and we're going to get started with this role play. Come on over, Alicia. Good afternoon, ma'am. How may I help you?
Hi, I'm looking for a purse for my mom.
A purse for your mother. Does she like a certain kind of purse or style?
She likes big purses.
All right, well I have some bags over here. Now, does she like a particular color? I have some black bags here.
She really likes black.
Okay, well then these are the bags to show you. This is a smaller purse. This is $25, but it's a nice little purse that carries a lot of stuff in it, even though it's small.
Okay.
That one's $25. This one is $50, and it has more pockets and things. So it's got a pouch here. Does she have a cell phone?
Yeah.
Well, this has a place especially for her cell phone.
Okay.
And then we have this one. Now, she really likes to carry a lot of stuff with her. She'll probably like this one. This is our largest bag, and this is $100.
All right.
Now, how much were you planning to spend?
Roughly $50.
About $50? Well, of course, we have this. This is $50. You could get that purse. Or if you wanted to get more than one gift, if this would be appropriate, you could get the $25 purse and then get her a scarf or something.
Okay. I'm going to look around a little bit more.
Okay. Were you ready to check out?
Yes, please.
All right. Oh, by the way, we have a special today. With any purchase, you can get 50% off any jewelry item. So, you know, like necklace or earrings or whatever. Would you be interested in that?
No, thanks.
Okay. And how did you want to pay?
Credit, please.
Okay, it's $52.62. Oh, could I see your photo ID?
Yep.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And if you would just sign there, please. All right, and here's your receipt. The receipt's in the bag. Here you go. Have a good day.
Thank you.
All right, now you saw those fabulous performances simulating a shop. We're going to talk about what you saw there and how you would deal with that in a real-life scenario. Now, I mentioned that you should look for some shopper errors. And the first shopper error happened very early on. Because what did the shopper ask for? When the salesperson said, "How may I help you?" she said, "I'm looking for a purse for my mother." That's a lot of information. And normally, if you're getting the salesperson to sell to you, you don't want to say, "I'm looking for this item exactly." Instead, you would say, "I'm looking for a gift for my mother," or something similar. At that point, that gives the salesperson an opening to start talking about possible gifts. Does she wear a lot of jewelry? Does she like scarves? Could she use a new purse? You know, something that would give the salesperson a chance to make some suggestions. But instead, this shopper came right in and said, "I want a purse." So that limited how much the salesperson could ask to then get to the shopper's needs. Give them a wide berth, a lot of openings so that they can ask questions to get to your needs, because that's part of what you're testing in their sales skills. If you go in and say, "I'm looking for a gift for my mother," what do they say? Do they start asking questions about your mother, or do they just arbitrarily show you something? What do? They should ask questions, absolutely. And that's what you're looking for. Now what we did is, first of all, did she get a friendly greeting from the salesperson? The salesperson said, "Good afternoon, ma'am, how can I help you?" or something to that effect. That's a good reading. If you could quote that in the report, instead of just saying, "I received a friendly greeting," to say, "The salesperson approached and said, 'Good afternoon, how can I help you?' or 'What can I show you?' or whatever it is the salesperson said in your particular scenario, that's specific. And that is a friendly greeting. Now when she came over and showed the purses, she showed 3 different purses at 3 different prices. This is the $25 purse, this is the $50 purse, this is the $100 purse. And then she asked how much the person wanted to spend. Now if they're supposed to ask a price, do you think they should ask before they show product or after they've shown you some product? Answer is, it doesn't matter what you think. What matters is what the client thinks. And often they want that person to show product before they ask the price. So if the question on the form is, did they ask your budget or did they ask how much you wanted to spend, you definitely have to say yes because the salesperson asked that. Now when they ask that, is really up to the standards of that business. For example, it might be that this business wants the salesperson to show product first and then say, now how much did you want to spend? Because she came in expecting to spend $20 on a purse. She obviously doesn't know my store. But she came in expecting to spend $20 on a purse. When I showed her the $50 purse, maybe she thought, gee, I really like that one. So when she heard $25, $50, and $100, and she thought, I really like that $50 one, and then the salesperson says, how much were you willing to spend? She's already sold on the $50 purse. Or maybe she doesn't want to look cheap. You know, people do that. They'll choose the middle option. So a salesperson might be trained to show 3 different prices, knowing that it's likely that the person will choose that middle option. She may have come in expecting to spend less, but we've actually moved her up just by not asking her budget immediately. So you don't know what their standard is unless they tell you. But if all they asked was, did they ask your price or how much you were willing to spend, the answer is certainly yes. Now, if you want to comment on that because you think they should have asked it earlier, it's okay to make a comment just in saying when she asked, but not in a judgmental way. So you wouldn't say, she asked my budget, but not until after she had shown me several purses. Instead, you might say something like, after showing me 3 purses, and you could even name the prices if you wanted, she asked how much I was willing to spend. That's not judgmental, it's descriptive. It just says this is what happened. So think about that when you are writing a report. Don't make a judgment, especially based on your perceptions. Now, did you notice a few other things? First of all, when she came up and she asked her question, I showed her items, seemed very helpful, all of a sudden, the salesperson just sort of stopped, didn't she? Do you ever run into that? Where the salesperson doesn't close? They might be looking to see what the salesperson does to close. So for example, if the question was, did the salesperson close, or what did they do to close? In this case, the salesperson didn't do anything to close, did she? What happened? Showed the purses, and then just stopped. Now, as the shopper, you don't want to jump in too quickly to rescue them, okay? You don't want to jump in and say, well, I'll take this one or anything else. What you want to do is give them a couple seconds, give them a couple beats to let that person do whatever they're going to do. In this case, the salesperson was just sort of standing there. She wasn't going to say anything else. So the shopper said, well, I guess I'll look around a while. Give the salesperson a chance to do it. Don't preempt them. But sometimes that means leaving an awkward silence. And we all hate that, don't we? Because we want to fill that silence with talk. Let the salesperson simmer a little bit. So if they're supposed to close, they've shown you things, and you've acted interested, and you're just sort of standing there, and they don't say anything else, give them a couple of seconds. And then if they don't come up with anything else, or they don't seem to be showing you anything else or saying anything else at that point, you can say, well, thank you, and I'll look around, or whatever your next step is. What kind of closing activities might a salesperson do in that situation? Can I help you with anything else? Or which one did you like? Or do you know for Mother's Day we have free gift wrap or something like that, to get her over to the cash register and get her to buy that. So this salesperson had an opportunity to say, I recommend you could get this one, or you could get this one and something else. Maybe she could have said, did you have a preference? And if she said, well, you know, I'm kind of thinking I like the $50 purse, but I'm not sure. Say, well, I could show you some scarves and other items we have that could go with the $25 purse to make up your $50 gift. So the salesperson could have offered to show her other things, could have said, let's take this over to the register, I can hold it for you while you shop. She could have done a number of things, but she didn't do it. She didn't close the sale. And that's going to be something that the employer, that the client cares about a lot. Because if their employees aren't asking for the sale, they're losing a lot of sales. That's a critical part of the process. So know how to deal with that. Don't rush through it and try to fill that silence. Don't make excuses for them in your report. Just describe what happened. So that took us through the salesperson's presentation. Let's talk about the cashier. When we talk about the cashier, first of all, the shopper comes up to the cash wrap. Does the cashier offer a friendly greeting? Cashier basically said, you ready to check out? Can I take your money or what? The cashier did not offer a friendly greeting. Are you ready to check out, or something of that nature is not a friendly greeting. A friendly greeting might be what? Hi, did you find everything okay? Or good afternoon, is that, is there anything else I can help you find? Or just something other than, you want to check out or what? You don't want something that's just a real generic question like that. You want a friendly greeting. So she didn't get a friendly greeting. Now the cashier does a couple of other things that are kind of interesting. Okay, she asked to see the ID, so she did that right. She wanted to see the ID from the person. Some places might require that she use her name. Did she use the customer's name at any time? Okay, so if they're supposed to use your name, listen for that. And often if you pay with check or credit card, they want the person who's taking your money, whether it's a server in a restaurant or a cashier or whoever it might be, they want them to use your name, so listen for that. Now there was another shopper error very near the end there. Did you catch what it was? I don't think it influenced the outcome of this shop very much, but as I handed the bag to the shopper, she said, "Thank you." And by the way, Alicia's a wonderful shopper. She was told to do these errors that I've mentioned. She follows direction very well. But when you're the shopper, you should not say thank you when somebody hands you something that you just paid for. You are the customer. They're supposed to say thank you to you. But your mothers beat it into all of you that when somebody hands you something, you say thank you, right? As a result, they hand us that purchase, the thing we just paid for, we say thank you. Now, a couple of things can happen as a result of that. They can say no, thank you, which at least that gets them to say thank you, but you've prompted them, so you've maybe affected the integrity of the shop. They might say you're welcome, so they haven't said thank you. Or even worse, they might say no problem. Hate that. Don't say thank you and preempt them. In fact, I make a game of this to train myself out of automatically saying thank you when somebody hands me something in a store or a restaurant or someplace. I make a little game. There's one place in particular I go, and it's a little drive-through restaurant, and when I go through and I get my food, I never know what they're going to say. So I always wait eagerly, anticipating what they're going to say today. Will it be thank you? Will it be here you go? Will it be have a good one? Will it be come back? Yeah, will it be nothing and they just sort of toss the food through the window? What's it going to be? And it's got me intrigued. The suspense is just amazing. If I had somebody in the car with me, I'd bet on what they were going to say. But that's one of the ways I train myself not to automatically say thank you. And as shoppers, it's an important point to remember. You affect the integrity of the shop when you do that because you're either preempting them or prompting them, and neither one is good for the shop. So listen for the things that they are supposed to do. Do not prompt them. For example, on things like suggestive selling. Now, did you hear our cashier suggestively sell? What did she say? We got a special, you buy anything, you get 50% off jewelry, you can get necklaces, earrings, whatever. You interested in that? Did she sound excited about that? It sounded like she was saying something she was told to say, right? Now, when you put that in the report, how do you put that in the report? Can you say she was unexcited? That's pretty much opinion, right? That's pretty subjective. You could say she said something in a monotone, or maybe she recited something robotically or mechanically, depending on the circumstance. Monotone, I think, would be pretty good in this case. That conveys the fact that this was not an enthusiastic presentation without saying she did it without enthusiasm. Stay as close as you can to objective fact rather than your opinion or things that are somewhat descriptive but open to interpretation. If you say monotone, it's pretty clear what a monotone is. So she described the 50% off jewelry special in a monotone. That gets it in there. Something else you want to keep in mind in your comments is not to just repeat the question. Often you'll see that there's a question there that will say, were all the lights operational? And somebody says no. So in their answer they say, some of the lights were not operational. All you're doing is repeating what was in the question, and you're not giving any more information. Instead of just saying, Some of the lights, you could say a specific number or identify a specific light that was not working, or give some other piece of information that expands on this. So if they ask a question such as, well, what kind of questions do you see that you think it's hard to deal with on that level? Or is there a particular question? How about, was the employee wearing a name tag? And you answer no. What do you say in your comment? It might be okay to just say the employee was not wearing a name tag. It just confirms that in fact you meant to say no. But if you can offer some additional information, that's a good place to do it. So you might offer information about how they were dressed, if that's appropriate. If, for example, they've asked questions about were they in uniform, or if they ask if they were professionally attired, you could describe how they were dressed. That the person had on a neatly pressed white shirt, a dark pair of pants, and no name tag, or something to that effect. So you give a little bit more information that way. It's not always critical. The name tag question is an example of that. Sometimes all they want you to say is the employee was not wearing a name tag, because it confirms that yes, you really meant to say no to that question. You didn't check it by accident. It confirms it. But if you can offer more information, do so. Now I want to talk about another question that comes up a lot on reports, especially these days. It's coming up more and more. They'll ask a question along the lines of, based on the visit today, would you return to this company, to this business? And you have to say yes or no, and then give a reason. Now, based on what you saw today in this scenario, would you return to this store? Yes or no? What do you think? Yes? Mostly yeses, maybe some no's? Okay. Why would you return? You might say, well, because I was able to find something that I liked, there was a good selection of merchandise and the prices are reasonable, that the salesperson was able to show me what was available. You might say any number of things that really are opinionated but also somewhat objective. This is a hard line here. The question itself, would you return, is an opinion question. They want to know what you would do. But when you answer it, you need to give some facts to back up your answer. So I'll give you some clues on answering this. Generally, your answer, yes or no, is going to be your gut reaction. Would you go back there? Yeah, I think I would. Why? Back it up. Or if the answer is no, then you need to back that up too. Read the question carefully, though, because you might have different answers. If the question is, based on the visit you made today, would you return to this business? You might say yes. But if the question were phrased, based on the service you received today, would you return? And in that case, you might say no. I'm not saying this scenario specifically, but whatever the scenario is. So you need to read the question carefully. For example, if you're doing a bank shop and they ask, based on the visit today, would you have opened an account here? And you say no, you don't want to say, because they're too far from my house. Because the idea is that you went to that bank because you were looking for a bank and that was a convenient location. You remember that as a mystery shopper, you're an actor. You're playing the part of somebody who was looking for a bank and they were looking in that neighborhood. That's why you went in there. Fine dining shops that have this question, sometimes they'll get the answer, would you return and spend your own money? They'll say no, because I would never spend $150 on a meal. Well, you are playing the part of somebody who would spend $150 on a meal, and that's how you need to answer that question. So your answer would be yes if you felt that the meal was a good experience and you felt that it was a good value, perhaps, or maybe the service was excellent. Your answer might be no if you felt the service wasn't very good, or if you thought that you could get a better value elsewhere for, a similar type of restaurant. But you need to have an answer that accurately reflects that you are a person who would normally use that product or service. You are a possible customer for that particular location. So if it's a bank, you don't say no because they're too far from your house, and you don't say no because you've been with the same bank for 20 years and you're not about to change. But you might say no because they didn't give you information about all the available account types, or they didn't ask questions to try to figure out what kind of account would be right for you. Or you might say no because they, in some cases it might be appropriate to say something about the line of services available. Again, it depends on the question that's asked. If the question is based on the service you received today, you don't want to say no because of the products that are available. You want to focus on the presentation made by the person who talked to you, Did they explain all the available products? Did they ask questions to help you find the right product? Did they provide the service that would be expected by that bank? In the case of an apartment complex, you don't want to say, no, I wouldn't rent an apartment here because I own a house. You wouldn't say, no, I wouldn't rent an apartment here because it's 30 miles from my office. You would just give an answer based on the fact that you are looking for an apartment and that looked like a good place for you to go check out. So always remember to answer on that basis. And do go with your gut, but then back up your gut. Because if you've got a whole bunch of yes, 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 yes answers all the way through the report, and at the bottom it says, and would you come back? And you say no, you better have a darn good reason why you wouldn't come back. Conversely, if you have a bunch of no answers and at the bottom you say, yes, I would come back, why would you come back if you've had a bad experience here? So you need to be able to explain what it was about that experience that made you not want to come back or made you want to come back despite the other things you've identified in the report. Something else to know about those questions is that they are typically not scored, meaning it doesn't affect the points that that particular location gets. And that's one of the things that happens with these mystery shop reports is yes answers get points and no answers don't get points, and they get a score out of that. Well, typically this question is not included in any score because it is opinion research. So give them good information about your perception of that business, and that is an opinion question, so it is fine to put your opinions in there. The bottom line is to always make your reports as thorough, detailed, and useful to the client as you possibly can. Make sure that they have all the information that they need, all the information that will help them analyze that situation and know what's going well in that location and what is not going so well, where there are training needs, where there are things that need to be addressed. You've gotten a lot of tips about how to write reports. If you incorporate some of these into your future reports, it will make you a better shopper. And if you remember at the very beginning, one of the things I said to you is that I hope your goal today in going through this workshop would be to become a better shopper. So whether you are a new shopper, whether you've been doing this for years, no matter what your experience level or your comfort level with mystery shopping at this point, I hope that you feel more comfortable with it now, and I hope that you will continue to do great shops and become a better shopper with each shop you do. Thank you.
Will there be other levels of certification?
No, I don't see us offering an additional certification level. We may down the road, but as of right now, we're trying to put as much information into gold certification as possible, and we'll see what the future holds.
Why don't mystery shoppers get paid more?
We're in a very competitive industry with a lot of clients whose budgets get pinched and revised annually, and we are always looking for ways to pay mystery shoppers what is fair for each job, but it's just a very competitive industry these days. A lot of new companies have come into mystery shopping in the last few years, and it's getting price driven a little bit.
Why don't shoppers get to see the final report?
Well, I can't speak for all companies, but the most widely used software systems allow you to send notes back to a shopper telling them what they did incorrectly. So instead of you having to go through the final product to see what we may have changed and why, we're just sending you a list of what was done to make it easier. But I'm sure, like my company, if you called and you wanted to see the final product, you could. There was just no real reason to build that in for you to have access to it.
Why doesn't every company do mystery shopping?
I think there's a lot of reasons for that. They use different types of research for different purposes. I think there's a lot of companies that still haven't been educated as to what mystery shopping can do for them. There's probably some companies out there that had bad experiences with mystery shopping and are kind of waiting to try it again.
How many mystery shoppers are there?
We estimate there's approximately 1 million. It's a difficult number to really be exact on because so many mystery shoppers are in multiple databases. So you have such a wide range of mystery shoppers working 40 hours a week to people that do one job once a year. So you may find that somebody has the same 6,000 people that someone else does in their database, and then there's another company who's got 6,000 unique shoppers, that other companies don't have. All mystery shoppers are independent contractors, so it doesn't hurt them to sign up in as many databases as possible, and there's no guarantee of work.
How often do shoppers get paid?
Every company pays their shoppers on a different schedule. From what I understand, the average is approximately once per month. Some companies pay every week, some every 2 weeks, some less frequently than once a month, but the average is about once per month.
How can I get more and better shops?
Well, first big step is to take gold or silver certification. Being certified separates a person that has never done shops before from another person who's never done shops before. You've got certification. We know that you know more than the person that just signed up off the street. After that, it's once you get in a database, and you want to probably get in as many different databases as possible, you accept a job, you do it as fast as you can, you give us the most information you can, you write a great report. The better you do, the more shops you'll get, and then you'll find that your scheduling crews will reward you by giving you those high-end restaurants or those casinos or those fun things to do because you've been reliable and good all along.